Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday to you all. My heart is so heavy, so heavy. I've been following everything what is going on in Nigeria, and the stories that are coming out of Nigeria is incomprehensible. It's unimaginable. It's it's heartbreaking. One story after another, one horror story and after another. You ask yourself, are these things really, are these movies? Are they movies or reality? Is this what people have been going through? This is what has been happening in our own country, in Nigeria. But what is the sadness I have now, the most horrifying thing to me is that as our youths are rising up and taking to the streets, trying to, start up something new in our country, and so many people have gone mute. If what is happening in Nigeria today, this uprising, this protest that the youth are, doing and leading and exposing what the horror that human beings have been going through in that country, if it was happening elsewhere in America or in the UK or somewhere in Europe, you would have seen everybody. If you see it trending on Facebook, trending every timeline will be filled up with this. It makes me worry. It makes me worry. It makes me wonder if we really want our own homes to be, to be habitable. It's terrible. It's terrible. You hear stories of a police officers shooting at people, killing people with so much impunity that the lives of goats and chicken and dogs are worth more than the life of a Nigerian. And we are here every day talking about racism, talking about the foreigner, blaming America, blaming Britain, blaming the whole world. Few months ago, just during when the COVID-19 started, we were all campaigning and shouting and talking of how the Chinese were manhandling Nigerians in China. But what is happening in our own homes, we are all covering, we are all keeping quiet to it. We are not talking. We are not crying. I'm not hearing the uproar. Why are we quiet? Why are we hiding what is happening in our own homes? Why are we not rising up and helping this youth and lending our voices and lending whatever it takes to make sure that this time around we use this opportunity to change our own homeland? If you are in Europe, in America, I'm calling all my brothers and sisters, Nigerians, Africans, Ghanaians, Kenyans, everywhere you are in the world. This is our fight. This is our collective responsibility for once and for all to change our homeland. The time has come for us to go home. The time has come for us to go home. The time has come for us to go and build our home and go home and have a home. The time has come for us to be brave enough to stand up to this evil happening in our homeland. We are here. We talk about racism, we talk about discrimination, we talk about diversity and all that. But the evil itself, the devil itself live in our own homeland. I don't know how somebody will look at somebody who looks exactly like him or her, who speaks the same language with him or her, who answers even sometimes the same name. And you torture them, They cry, they beg, they call, they ask for help, and you torture them until they die. And then you quietly carry their corpse and throw away somewhere. And you move about like nothing happened. And we have a nation where we say we have leaders. We call those people leaders. We call those evil charlatans leaders. And we are all quiet. If it hasn't happened to you, if you're waiting for it to happen to you, I'm sorry for you. This is an opportunity we have now, and everybody should stand up. Everybody should stand up however they can, any way you can. If you can come out on the street and march and raise your voice, if you can be on the, use video, use write up and whatever, let it be known, let it be a priority all over the world right now that Nigeria and Africa must change. See, this movement is not just about police brutality in Nigeria. It's not just about police brutality. It's about our culture of brutality. It's about culture of brutality. It's about culture of torture. It's about culture of dehumanizing each and every one of ourselves. It's about culture of enslaving others. It's about culture of not respecting dignity of our humanity. That is what this fight is all about. It's about overhauling our culture. We have a culture. This police brutality is not in isolation. We have Africans, Nigeria, we have a culture of brutality. That is the truth. We have a culture of enslaving each other. Who has the more money, who is bigger, walks all over the other person. Stamples on the right of every other person. The SARs, they didn't start on their own. The police didn't start on. We have in the villages where people who think they have arrived, people who think they have money, will go and call the police and give them money to go and brutalize their brothers, their sisters, their neighbors. That is the culture we have created. We have a culture where a man comes home and that the wife and the children will be hiding. And that is what we call, he's a strong man, he's this. And that is the kind of men we respect. We have created a culture where people, where scammers, armed robbers have become our traditional leaders, have become our governors, have become our political leaders. Where people go and kill people and get money, and we start reverencing them, we start celebrating them, we make them kings, we make them chiefs. Nobody cares how you get money. We have a culture where work, there's no dignity in work. When somebody's doing work, doing a legitimate work, people denigrate, disrespect them, because they haven't bought millions and billions. And this happens right from our own families, from homes, where we disrespect people who refuse to dirty their hands with crime to get money, where we disrespect people who work hard to earn a living, where we praise lazy people who will go and do killings and rituals and carry drugs and get money from anywhere, armed robbery and all that. We praise them. We say they are sharp, they are smart. That is the culture we have created, and it is our responsibility to end that culture. It is our responsibility to end the culture where a woman has no right in their own home. It is our responsibility to use this time around to end enslavement of women, of children, where in our cultures, children do not have rights. Children are not respected. If a child talks, you slap, bam. That is the culture we created. It's not just the police. It's not just SARS. So this is the time for us now to have a retrospective reflection into ourselves and see, how have we contributed in creating this SARS? How have we contributed in creating such a wicked society where somebody feels so entitled to kill, to torture human beings with such impunity, with such madness. There's a name, this CPS or whatever, James Nwafo, police officer in Anambra, who almost every torture that has happened in Anambra State, his name is being called. This man has a family. He has brothers and sisters. He has a community where he comes from. He has a village. Why have we not been able to fish him out and deal with him? People are hiding him. We have a culture where this kind of man who has been, torturing and brutalizing the whole community will become an SA for the governor. And now that brings me to, calling out like IPOB and all these people agitating in our own local communities. We've not been able to handle these issues. We've not been able to say no to the evil going on in the homes. And now I'm speaking about our own Igbo culture, where a woman have no right over any, everything is taken away from women, from their own parents. They don't have right to the properties of their own parents in where they're married. Nothing. We have a culture of, suppressing and brutalizing and, enslaving women. We have a culture where children cannot have a say. We have a culture where a 35-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 20-year-old cannot speak. They'll ask you to shut up. There was this guy I was interviewing one time. He told me the problem of Africa is elder curse. And I agree with him. We have destroyed ourselves by creating a monster of, if you call yourself an elder, then you are not accountable. If you ask an elder to be accountable, people say respect, respect, and we use it to cover up a lot of things happening. Now tell me, if a child who throughout his life or her life has been all brutality, has only experienced brutality, and then ends up becoming a police officer, what do you expect that person to do? What does he know? We have a culture where a madam or auntie or uncle would go and pick another person's child and call that child a house help, and then that child is treated worse than a slave. A child of 8 years, 6 years, 5 years, taking care of all the home, the chores in your house, and yet you will beat this child, you will do anything to this child because you know their family, they are poor. That is the culture we have created. And then when this child, after going through this, grows up, probably becomes a police officer, what do you expect that child to be? We have created a monster in our society. And this is the time now for us to start from our homes, our rooms, our families, to start sweeping out and start cleaning off this monster that we created. It's not just the government. Those people in government who are brutalizing the citizens are members of our society. They were not lifted from China. They were not lifted from India. They were not lifted from Europe. They were not lifted from America. They are members of Nigerian community. They are Igbos. They are Yorubas. They are Hausas. It is us. That is our culture. Culture of brutalizing each other. I used to wonder, how was it possible that the white man could come to Africa and enslave us? They finished with enslavement, and then they came back and colonized us. I said, I sit down all the time, I wonder, I said, how many of them came? How was it possible? How was it possible that the people will come from so far as from Europe to Africa, to Nigeria, and enslave the whole of us? They finished with enslavement, and then they came back and colonized us again. Until date, we are still colonized. I've been wondering, how could that be? How many of them could have come to hold the whole nation or the whole people to ransom, as to start picking our people and going? Now it's making sense after hearing the stories that are happening in our own place. This is who we have always been. We have been people who continue to betray ourselves, who continue to sell ourselves. Nigeria has the highest trafficked humans in Europe. Nigeria has the highest number of trafficked humans in Europe. Yet Nigeria has the highest, amount of natural resources. God blessed a nation that God blessed so much with everything. Good weather. Is it good weather? Is it land? Fertile land. We have gold. We have silver. We have aluminium. We have cocoa. We have everything. We have. What kind of food can't you get in Nigeria? Tell me. In England, where I live now, the only food that they have that is indigenous to them is potato, and perhaps maybe a pork, pig meat or whatever. But in Nigeria, we have what? How many people eat potato in their house? Because we don't even remember it. Because we have excess options of what to eat. Therefore, potato is not something we even remember as something we can waste our time cooking. This is the time. This is the time for us to begin to right the wrongs that we have forever created. This is the time for us to begin to right the wrongs. This is not, you see, here in Europe, I keep telling my African people, forget about racism. Our problem is not racism. Our problem is not the white man. Our problem is ourselves. How do we love each other? Do we love each other? We compete so much amongst us. Okay, look at this is the 10th or 11th day since the demonstration. I come on Twitter all the time. I see everybody's tagging CNN, tagging BBC, tagging international media to help them get the message out there. Do you know how many million people in Nigeria alone? Why don't we have a mainstream media? Al Jazeera just came a few years ago, about 9 or 10 years ago. Now it's an international influential media. Why? Because we, the Africans, we can never, we don't ever have regard for our own. We don't ever believe in our own. We don't know that we are the ones funding every other thing happening out there. All these media that we are calling, what makes them mainstream? Because the number of people watching and loyal to them. When an African opens a media house, we don't have time, we don't care. Then when we need it, when we need our message out there, we start running helter-skelter. I was asking somebody a few months ago, I said, why is it that we, the black people, why is it that it's only black people that come out on social media all the time, and I keep hearing buy black, we are being told to buy from each other. We are being told to support each other. Isn't that strange? Isn't it strange that I have to be told to patronize my own brother or sister? It is our responsibility to free ourselves. We are the ones holding ourselves. It's not Europe. It's not America. It's not Asia. It's not even China. It is us who are holding ourselves. And until we tell ourselves that truth, until we decide to take responsibility, and the fact that up till now, we Africans have not taken responsibility of the mistakes that we made, that made it possible for Europe to take advantage of us and enslave us. It was our own people who were helping, who were used in the villages to be able to enslave us, which is what we are still seeing today. We have a nation of 200 plus something million people, and just about how many? Less than 1%. Less than 100,000 of them are holding the whole nation to ransom. And now our youths are rising up, and some people are hiding, because they've been benefiting from the evil happening in our society. Where is your voice? Where is your action? If it's racism, everybody will come out and be screaming because we know we don't have any responsibility there. Now, this is time for you to raise your voice. This is time for you to come out and be counted. This is time for us to do something about our nation so that we can go home. Europe is not our home. You don't come here fighting for rights. Go home and be fighting for your right. It is in Nigeria, it is in Africa that your right is. And that is where we must go and build. It is our responsibility to build there. It is our responsibility to support the youths who are rising up now and saying no to this brutality and oppression going on in our nation. This culture of oppression and enslavement must end. This is time we need to end that culture, not only in politics, not only with the police, but in our schools. A teacher will take a cane and flog a child until that child cries to death. You keep on flogging a child. The only way we think we can punish a child is flogging and beating and all of that. We have a culture where dialogue is not valued. We don't start from negotiation. We don't start from dialogue. We don't discuss. We don't nothing. We just boom, is violence. We have a culture of violence, and this is time for it to end. If we don't remove the root cause of SARS, we will just change the name. And it's business as usual. This is time for us all to look inwards, go home. How have you been treating the children of your poor uncle or poor brother? How have you been treating those people around you who are not graduates? Those people around you who didn't go to school? How have you been looking down on them? As a medical doctor, how have you been treating your patients? Have you been patient enough to explain what procedures you are doing? Have you been patient enough to listen and answer their questions when they ask you questions? Or do you become so full of yourself? As a nurse, how do you talk to that woman who is in labor, needing your help and care? As a teacher, how do you deal with those children under your care? You just flog them. You flog them and flog them and flog them. You abuse them. You speak to them disrespectfully. As a woman or man in the market selling your stuff, how have you been dealing? Have you been honest with selling your products? So our problem is not just the police. Our problem is the culture of cheating, culture of oppression, culture of enslavement and brutality, violence that we have. As a husband, how have you been taking care of your family? How do you speak to your wife? How many times have you been slapping your wife and everybody under you in the home? As a grandmother, as a mother-in-law, how are you treating your daughter-in-laws? And vice versa. As a rich man in the community, how do you deal with the children of the poor? Do you not build your house and block the door, block the road, and cause erosion and everything everywhere? Do you have any regard for the poor? As a priest, as a pastor, how have you been treating your congregation? Have you not been deceiving them so that they continue to give you money every single day, every single week? Have you not been brainwashing and using your congregation and taking advantage of their ignorance? So the problem is not the police. The problem is not SARS. The problem is the culture, the monster culture we have in Nigeria, in the whole of Africa. A culture where we don't have respect for one another. We don't know that respect, the same equal respect that an adult needs or is asking for, is the same respect a child born today also should be accorded. Respect for human life, respect for your human dignity. Respect is not only for the adults. We created a culture where an adult can do anything and get away with it. If a child talks, you say the child is rude, or the child is this, the child doesn't have a voice or right in a community, in a society. We have a culture where if you come to decision-making meetings and all that in the community, women are not allowed to attend or to speak. That is the culture we have. So, my brothers and sisters, every African, every black person, whether you call yourself black, you call yourself an African, or you call yourself a Caribbean, our problem is the same. Check all the nations where this our skin is majority. Go and check the quality of life there, and then ask yourself a question. Go everywhere from Africa to Caribbean, all the nations. Go and check the quality of life in those areas and ask yourself a question. What is happening? What is wrong with us? That is the question. Now, this is not the time of blame game. This is not the time to blame Europe, blame America, blame everybody, blame racism, blame slavery or colonialism. We have to now take responsibility and ask ourselves, how was it possible that a whole continent was enslaved by a few? And after the enslavement, it didn't end there. They came back and colonized us. Until today, we are still dependent on these same people. Why? That is the question we need to ask ourselves today. And when you, as you're answering that question, begin to search your own mind. Begin to search your own house, your own home. How have you been treating the people below you, or people you believe are below you? For me, nobody is below anybody. Everybody is equal before God. Every human being deserves the same thing. Everybody craves the same thing, dignity of life. Everybody deserves respect. Everybody is craving for a good quality of life. Whether you have master's degree, you have PhD, you have just a degree, bachelor's degree, or whether you didn't go to secondary school, or you only went to primary school, or you didn't even go to any school at all, that does not matter. That is not where your worth is. That is not where your dignity lies. Your dignity lies in the fact that you are a human being created in the image of God. And that is what matters. It's not how much money you have. It's not the clothes you're wearing. It's not the house you live in. It's not where you live. It's not what you do. It is the fact that you are a human being created in the image of God. That is all that you need for you to deserve that respect. And if you cannot do that to any human being, just looking at a human being and say, this is an image, this is a human being like myself, created in the image of God, and this person deserves my respect. That's all you need to know. You don't need to have any other information about a human being before you respect them. That's it. That is what I'm preaching, and that is what I'm saying, and that is what I'm telling my fellow black people, Africans and Caribbeans, wherever you are. We have the same problem. It's not only in Nigeria. The way we brutalize each other, the kind of wickedness we melt out on each other on a daily basis is something you cannot imagine. And that is what is holding us. We must stop, yes, Bibian, yes. We must stop oppressing one another. It's not when you have any little advantage over another person, you want to oppress that person. That is the culture we have. We have a culture where, so if somebody has the bigger car, the other people cannot move. Look at Nigeria, for instance, where if you have the biggest car, or you're the richest person, therefore you cannot follow traffic rules. You can block the road and stop in the middle of the road and start conversation with whoever. And if anybody talks, you ask them how much do they have. That is the culture we have. You go and bribe a police officer to go and flog people, to go and arrest a family, an innocent family, and deal with them. because you think you have the money, until somebody who has more money than you or more authority than you. I remember when people used to befriend people or that has an army in their homes, so that if you mess up, they'll go and call their army friend or army brother or army family member to come and deal with you. That is the culture we've been operating on. But now the youths are saying enough is enough. Not just with police, we must reform our cultures, our local culture. We have to start this reform of Nigeria. The reform of a new Nigeria must start from each individual's house. How do you treat your house help? How do you treat the children in your care? How do you treat your wife? How do you treat your husband? How do you treat your mother-in-law, father-in-law? How do you treat your daughter-in-law? How? As a teacher, how do you treat your my children were asking me the other day. They said, "Mommy, why is it that teachers in Nigeria, they flog because they watch this Emanuela program on YouTube?" They said, "Mommy, why is it that when children didn't get the answer, the teachers keep flogging them? Does flogging somebody make them to know the answer?" These are children below 13, 14. That's the question they're asking. Say, why do we think that flogging somebody will make them know the answer to the question? If a teacher cannot teach somebody to understand something, they resort to flogging them. And then when the police flog you, you say the police is brutalizing you, but you forgot how much you flogged that helpless child in your care. Now, a man will go home, there's no food, you start beating your wife. Or you feel the house is dirty, or for in fact, sometimes for no reason, you start beating your wife. Then when the police decides to beat you, you start screaming. Police brutality. We have been brutal to each other. That has been our culture. You will see a man, he will not take care of his family, and then if the woman takes the case to the umunna, to the community, the men will do their magic and they still blame the woman. That is the culture we have been operating on. That is why nothing is moving. We have a culture where a local councillor will be given money to build his own local community, and he will pocket the money, and people will be hailing him as a smart guy. He will use the money he's supposed to use in building the road in his own local community, and he will use it to buy cars, build house, and people will be hailing him. The next time they will vote him to become a senator or governor. Who did us like this? Are we stupid? Then when the foreigners say, oh, that the black people or Africans are not intelligent, we start saying racism. But check us. Check all our nations. Check the nations of Africa. Check all our cultures. It's painful. We must decide to change. And this is the time. The time is now. We must join the Nigerian youth. And it's not a Nigerian fight all alone. It's the African fight. It's a global fight for black people. The time is now. Let us all lend our voice how we can. Thank you.